All right, today we are diving deep. We're doing a forensic, almost archival analysis of Ayatollah Javadi Amoli's exegesis of Surah Al-Qasas, starting right at verse 14. This is going to be a journey through theology, linguistics, and the deep, deep structure of a divine story. So let's get right into it. So our main source, our guide through this whole thing, is this specific session of the Tafsir. Now, to really preserve the academic and, frankly, the spiritual integrity of the analysis, we're going to follow the structure and the insights from this source meticulously. The idea here isn't to give you a quick summary, right? We're going to trace the argument step by step, just like the source does. So here's our roadmap for this journey. First, we're going to really dissect the core ideas of wisdom, knowledge, and maturity as they're laid out in the verse. Then we'll get into the story of Moses' unintended act and, crucially, the anatomy of his repentance. From there, the source takes us on this fascinating legal deep dive into labor and reward. After that, we look at the political power behind the accusation of tyranny, and we'll wrap it all up with a big picture comparison between Pharaoh's worldview and the divine order. Okay, let's kick things off with the verse that really sets the stage for Prophet Moses' public life. The source text spends a lot of time on the precise wording here, because as you're about to see, every single term is just loaded with theological and psychological meaning. This is it. This is the verse. It's describing a major turning point in Moses' life. But what does it really mean to attain full strength and become mature in this specific context? Well, the source breaks it down for us word by word so we can understand what the prerequisites are for receiving these divine gifts. Okay, so the first term we need to unpack is ashudahu. Now, this isn't just about being physically strong, like hitting the gym. The commentary really emphasizes that this is about reaching the peak of both your physical power and your intellectual capacity. It's that point in life where your mind and your body are at their absolute zenith. And right after that, we get istawa. This idea builds directly on the first one. It means to become balanced, stable, established. So if ashuduhu is about having all this raw power, istawa is about achieving the equilibrium and the sound judgment you need to actually use that power correctly. It's all about maturity of character. Now, it's only after a person reaches this combined state of mature strength that the verse says God grants two incredible gifts. The first one is hukam. You'll often see this translated as wisdom or judgment, but the source makes it clear this is a divinely bestowed faculty. It's the ability to see things as they truly are and to make the right call. We're not just talking about being smart. This is a profound, discerning wisdom. The second gift is ilm, or knowledge. And again, this isn't about book smarts or just collecting a bunch of facts. When it's paired with hukum, this means a kind of divinely granted insight, a knowledge that just cuts through all the superficial stuff to reveal a reality much deeper than what you can see or measure with your senses. And this is where it gets really interesting. The source draws a direct parallel to another story. See, this isn't some random one-off event that only happened to Moses. The Qur'an uses almost the exact same language for Prophet Joseph, who also received hukam and elm after reaching his ashudahu. What the analysis shows us is that this is a divine pattern. It's a kind of blueprint. Prophets are prepared, they're matured, before they're given the tools they need for their mission. So now that we understand the tools Moses has been given, let's see how the story unfolds. With this divine wisdom and knowledge, Moses goes into the city, and that's where this pivotal, absolutely life-altering event happens. Here, the analysis shifts from breaking down words to breaking down the story itself, really focusing on the moral and psychological angles. So Moses sees an injustice, an Israelite being oppressed by an Egyptian, and he steps in. But the strike is fatal. Now, it's crucial here. What the source really zooms in on is his immediate reaction. He doesn't make excuses. He doesn't try to justify it. He instantly gets the gravity of what just happened, and he attributes it to the influence of Satan, which, the commentary points out, isn't an excuse, but an identification of the corrupting source of the act. The source text really presents Moses' response here as a perfect model for what sincere repentance looks like. I mean, look at the sequence. First, there's instant self-awareness. Boom, he knows he did wrong. Second, a direct and personal appeal to God, taking full ownership. Third, he appeals to God's mercy. And fourth, and this is so important, it doesn't just stop with feeling bad. It moves into a concrete promise for the future. And this verse is the climax of his repentance. He turns that regret into a powerful vow. He's basically saying, because of the wisdom and strength you've given me, I now promise to only use these gifts for justice and never, ever again to help the oppressive criminals. He's turning his biggest mistake into the very foundation of his life's mission. It's incredible. All right, now the source text does something really fascinating. It pivots. We move from this intense narrative to a really detailed legal or jurisprudential discussion. Now, this might seem like a total detour, but the analyst roots it right back in the theme of action and reward that we saw at the end of verse 14, thus do we reward the doers of good. So the core question they're trying to answer is this: when is it okay to get paid for doing something? And this gets really tricky when you're talking about a religious duty, right? Can you charge a fee for something God has already ordered you to do? This has massive implications for all kinds of things, from leading prayers to teaching sacred knowledge. Okay, so the principle here is called ijara, which basically means a hiring contract. And the analysis makes a really sharp distinction. You cannot get paid for the core obligatory act itself because that's a duty you owe directly to God. But, and this is the key, you can get paid for the stuff around that act, the ancillary things like your time, your travel, the prep work. This legal nuance is so important because it protects the sacredness of the duty while still recognizing the real-world logistics of life and work. Okay, let's get back to the narrative. The very next day, Moses is back on the streets of the city. He finds himself in a similar situation, but this time, the confrontation takes a sharp political turn. This is where the story really starts to escalate. So Moses tries to intervene again, and the very man he's trying to help, who seems to be the same guy from the day before, turns on him. And he uses this incredibly loaded word, jabbar. It means a tyrant, a despot, an oppressor. He's accusing Moses of wanting to become the exact same thing that Pharaoh already is. The analysis here is just brilliant. It shows us that this word, tyrant, isn't just an insult. No, it's a political weapon. It's the classic move of an oppressive system trying to protect itself. It frames the person fighting for justice as the real danger. It's a deflection tactic that distracts from the state's own tyranny. It twists the reformers' motives into a quest for personal power. And you know what? It reveals just how scared the corrupt system is of anyone who dares to challenge it. And that accusation, that single word, opens up the final part of this whole analysis. It blows up the conflict from a street-level argument to a clash of entire worldviews. Pharaoh's system versus the divine system. To understand Pharaoh's worldview, the source points us to this one chilling line from the Qur'an. This is the tyrant's motto, plain and simple. Truth isn't objective. Truth is whatever the ruler says it is. What I see is reality. My way is the only right way. There's no higher authority, no external truth you can appeal to. Now, to keep this system running, Pharaoh needs his people to be in a state of ghafil, or heedlessness. And the analysis is very clear. This isn't just about people being individually forgetful or a little bit ignorant. No, this is a systemic, politically engineered state of unawareness. A tyrannical system survives by keeping people distracted, uninformed, and unable to question the official story that the ruler knows best. So when you put it all together, you see these two totally opposite systems. On one side, you've got Pharaoh's order, a closed system based on one man's vision that requires the population to be kept in the dark. And on the other side, you have the divine order that Moses represents, a system based on objective truth, on revelation, on the pursuit of justice that seeks to awaken people with that divine knowledge, ilm, and wisdom, hukm. As we wrap this up, it's so important to remember that what we've just walked through isn't just someone's opinion on a story. It's a deep, scholarly construction, built on a huge network of textual cross-references and linguistic details. The source text shows us that these verses aren't just a story about the past. They're a timeless framework for understanding the struggle between tyranny and justice, between engineered ignorance and divine wisdom. And it really leaves us with a question for ourselves, doesn't it? In any given situation, which of these systems are we building, and which one are we helping to dismantle?